Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations. This is our second segment, and we are here with Ian Waller, Chief Editor of Bath and Wiltshire, and also now Bristol Parent Magazine. You've been busy.
We've been very busy. Yeah. Now we've still got the Bath and Wiltshire Parent Magazine. That's doing really well. We're about to celebrate our 15th anniversary, would you believe? So that's fantastic news. But last year we launched the Bristol Parent, which is a website online only. And so we've just celebrated our first anniversary. So that was a little knees up with cake and things. And that was great. Yeah, it's going extremely well. We launched it at precisely the wrong time, just as everything was closing down. But actually it gave it a wonderful opportunity to grow slowly. And now it's really taking off. So that's an online product for families in the Bristol area, sharing the same sort of level of news and events and general information that have proved so popular with the Bath and Wiltshire Parent.
Nice. Very good. Well, congratulations on all that.
Thank you very much.
And I think that it's very timely to have it on online, because as much as people like to pick things up and read it, and as a paper version, a lot of people are more environmental conscious as well, and they might not have access to where these paper versions are being put out. So it's really nice to have it online, a choice, right?
It is. And it's also a matter of what works for the company.
Exactly.
I mean, in Bath, because Bath is obviously so much smaller than Bristol, the magazine works really well. But if we were to produce as many magazines as we need to cover Bristol, the whole financial outlook is completely different. Whereas the website on its own works very well there.
And also, I think people might want to prefer young families are more tech savvy.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And that today we're going to talk about using different kinds of strategies to reach different audiences. And that's a good example of one, either an online or an offline magazine.
That's exactly it. I mean, when we started the Bath and Wiltshire Parent 15 years ago, which still sounds amazing, everything was print.
Yes.
You know, and when I first became a journalist all those years ago, everything was print. I mean, I remember having lessons to learn how to use a mouse on a computer, and it was all so new.
And the trackpad was invented and screwed everybody over.
Absolutely. And who did that? But it's great. And the magazine has grown, and it's the biggest magazine in Bath now, and it continues to grow. But there's clearly been a whole change in direction with the growth of online, with websites and with the growth of social media. So where does this place a business when they're looking to promote themselves? Should they go to print? Should they go to websites? Should they go to social media? And really, it's a matter for me of looking at a joined up strategy. I never think it's one or the other. Print has a very strong position, particularly locally. And locally means community. And community can be geographical. It can be Bath. It could be a general interest. It could be property. It could be fishing. It could be cooking. And as long as you're engaging with that community, I think the product will do well. And that's what we do with the Bath and Wiltshire Parent Magazine. We engage with our community, which is families across Bath and Wiltshire and Somerset. And because we can do it effectively and we do it in a way that the readership enjoys and appreciates, the magazine grows.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a core principle of what we do. You've got to understand what your audience wants.
And you have to make a choice. Who is your audience? What are their behavior, their buying behaviors, or how do they get to know you? What is their habits?
Absolutely.
It's not what your habits are, it's what are their habits. And sometimes I find that even before choosing the platforms to reach multiple audiences, you've got to prioritize the multiple audiences. I don't know how big your budget is. It's not always possible to do them all at the same time.
You're absolutely right. It's understanding what the readership or the audience wants and how they consume. You can't force a product on somebody. You've got to see how they want to consume it. And I think that's incredibly important. And there you've got to make the product as consumable as possible. So be that magazines or websites or social media. So with the magazine, we've got this well-established product, but it was very clear, perhaps 10 years ago, we had to launch a website. But you're completely right with what you've said. We couldn't just launch the website we wanted to launch. We needed to launch the website that people wanted. Yeah. And we had to understand who they were, what their demographic was, or still is, So the gender. So 95% of our readers are mums, aged between early 20s to mid 50s. So we have
a wide range.
It's a wide range, and we're very lucky with that. But would that be the same online? Would it be the same with the social media content? And even within the social media, is Facebook the same audience as Instagram, as TikTok? So it's learning exactly how to present your product so that you can reach that readership in a correct and effective way. And you can just put it all on the magazine, on the publisher to do it. But as the person supplying the information, as a local business person trying to get out there and be seen, it helps if you understand it as well.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a really important aspect, and that's what I was thought we could chat about today.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. We'll be back with more Ian Waller and Bath and Wiltshire Parent Magazine, as well as Bristol Parent Magazine after this.
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio.
Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations. We're still with Ian Waller, and we're talking about different platforms for different audiences. So let's do one platform at a time. Magazines.
Now, magazines is my sort of bread and butter. I'm a great fan of magazines. That's what I do. If somebody says, what do you do at a party? I say, I'm a journalist. I write for magazines. But there's no doubt that magazines have had a tough time since social media, since websites came along. Since social media came along, magazines took a bit of a hit because obviously people stopped buying them. They were getting their news online. Yeah. And that was fine. And then similarly, COVID had a similar effect. But the thing is, magazines still have a lot of strengths, and particularly local magazines, where they can really engage with the local community. So magazines, I've actually written a list out. Being a journalist, I've done it. And magazines are seen as professional and authoritative. They're an established product. They're a physical product that you can pick up, particularly for that long read. People will sit down, cup of tea, and read a magazine. And it's something you keep hold of, and it's something you might tear a page out and put it up put it with the magnet up on the kitchen door to remind yourself. It's something you'll hand on to somebody else. And it's a very enjoyable luxury thing. To this day, if I have a rare hour off in town, I might nip into Smith's, buy a magazine, sit down with a cup of tea, and just relax, reading about cricket or motorbikes or whatever it is that I want to read about that day. So it gives you a real sort of pleasurable experience, particularly for the long read, the in-depth article, and particularly for people that aren't young kids. So we're looking at young adults, older people. Magazines are still very popular, particularly where they're well produced. Now, there's an awful lot of magazines out there that are popped together and they generally don't last long. It's because they're not working with their readers, giving the readers what they want. And a well-produced magazine with quality editorial will always have a place. We're about to celebrate our 15th anniversary. The next issue, we're actually going to increase our print run, and that's purely as a result of extra demand for the magazine, because people like to get hold of it and to read it. So the magazine, with a good community feel, with quality editorial, has a real strength.
And when you say well-produced, it is content, not necessarily thick covers.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you judge well-produced
content? You're absolutely right. I mean, a good-looking mag is great, and we can flick through while we're waiting for our cappuccino to be made for us, and we look at great pictures, and that's wonderful, and that'll give you a couple of minutes, real pleasure, and there's a wonderful feeling about a quality magazine. But what's the thing that's going to keep you reading it? What's the thing that's going to keep you turning the pages, look at the advertisers, look at the articles about local businesses, look at the articles about local community? It has to be well-read, well-written, and well-produced, with good photographs and an understanding of what the reader wants. Yeah. And that's at the core of it every time. So it can look great. It can be the Emperor's New Clothes, where everybody's told it looks great. But ultimately, it has to do the job. And that's get the information over. So that's a really important consideration. If you're looking to promote a company or promote yourself through a magazine and you want that content, make sure it's well-read, well-written, well-produced. Yeah. And it's so important that
because if you notice the thick, and I'm not going to mention any brands or anything, because some people will say, well, it's the feel, if they've got a hard cover or thick cover and everything. But many of these things, because they are so expensive to produce, the first or most of it is a full page color ad of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Equally in thick paper, but that's not what will keep you. That's not something you'll tear and put into on your fridge.
Exactly.
You know, so it's not valued to you. But something like your magazine, you've researched it, and the articles speak to the parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a good-looking magazine is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a pleasure to be had in looking at wonderful pictures and wonderful design. But if you're looking, that's from the reader pleasure. If you want as a business to push yourself across through that magazine, the content has to be there.
Yes.
You have to engage.
Yeah.
And that's done through good writing ultimately,
Okay.
and a real knowledge from this team on the magazine of what the readership wants.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
what is a magazine not good for?
A magazine is they have been hit, so circulation has been hit. Without a doubt. So I think there's an awful lot of magazines out there that don't put that work into the editorial. So what they're not good for is you've got to, as a reader, got to make sure you've got the right one. Ultimately, there are quite a few red herrings out there. But if you find a magazine that's established, that's been going for a while, that is growing, that has a reputation, that's a great thing to have, and that's a very valuable thing.
How many percentage of your readership comes from online versus offline? Because my perception is always offline magazines or print magazines is better than online magazines. Is that true?
I think that's a fantastic question. For me, the readership of the two is complementary. It's not competing. So the numbers, for the magazine, we have 21,800 copies that are printed, and we run out every issue. So that will go up to over 22,000 next time. On the website, we have 16,500 visitors each month to the Bath website. That trend is going up all the time. Those readers aren't necessarily the same, and the content is certainly not the same. So when we look at websites, you know, the great thing about a website is the immediacy of the content. If you give me a news piece now, that can be up online in 5 minutes' time. I can use my phone to do it, you know, and it can be updated. And there's a wonderful immediacy that you don't get with a magazine. With a magazine, we write a feature. The next time you'll read it will be in a month's time or in 2 months' time. So you don't have that immediacy. You don't have that absolutely fresh news. But if you run the two side by side, you have both.
But if you say, you know how your ad package, you know, a magazine ads package is usually X pounds for this size column in a printed, and plus you'll get XYZ, like a banner or something online, right? So that means, is that banner effective? Do you notice that it's effective for the
Yeah,
advertisement?
absolutely. If you put an advert into a magazine, you can't tell exactly what effect it's having. You know, because 33 people might see that advert, go into your shop and buy some goods, but they're not all going to come through the door saying, I've seen your advert in the Bath and Wiltshire Parent. So you can't be absolutely certain. If you put an advert onto a website, you can tie the advert through a particular URL, a particular website. So you can actually tell how many people have clicked on that advert and come to your website. So there's an absolute definite. It doesn't always work like that. They might not click on it that moment. So they've seen an advert for the Boston Tea Party. They might click on that moment. They might be walking past it the next day and go, oh, yeah, I remember the Boston Tea Party. So it's not exact, but there's still a pretty good way of tracking things.
Yeah, the trackability is definitely better online.
Trackability.
And plus, if you are updating the content of your online magazine with these news snippets and everything on a regular basis, the likelihood that people come back to read the online is probably more, and we can't track the offline. But yeah,
absolutely, it's a shorter read experience, so it's more to do with news than features. So with if I was to go back to the Boston Tea Party, the fact that I've been in there and had a great cup of tea and done a short review would be great for a website. But as soon as the next news piece comes up, that's gone. The Boston Tea Party review is gone. Whereas in the magazine, it's there. It'll be shared.
But then it's aged. It's done. Yeah,
it is. But that depends on the quality of the piece. So we've got a great piece in the next issue of the magazine about 5 business mums across the Bath and Wiltshire area who are giving advice to other mums. Well, that piece won't age. That advice is still going to be great, and it fits well into a magazine. So again, it's down to the skill of the magazine producer.
True.
And the magazine will be there. Whereas on the website, give it 2 or 3 other posts and it'll be lost in the ether of the internet.
That's true. Very good. Well, I want to speak more about other platforms that we can use to reach different kinds of audiences when we come back.
This is Radio Bath.
Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations. I'm still here with Ian Waller from the Bath and Wiltshire Parent Magazine and now the online Bristol Parent Magazine. So we talked a lot about magazines.
Yeah.
Yes. And then let's move into one of the most favorite platforms, I think, that most people understand is websites.
Yeah, absolutely.
But websites, if you don't do it correctly, it just becomes an online brochure.
Exactly.
So tell us more about how we can use
I'm going to
websites.
repeat myself, and it's all down to quality of content for me. I mean, you can find whatever you want on a website, and that's a pro and a con, because you can look up anything. You can put in something like the England cricket scores, you can put in a recipe for Dover sole, and you'll find lots of different reports on it. But you can also put in evidence that the earth is flat, and you'll find information on that as well. So it's knowing where to look and knowing how to engage with it. I mean, there's a lot of advantages for websites. When we launched the Bath and Wiltshire Parent website, it grew like mad. And the great thing is it allows easy access. For me, that's the number one thing with a website. You've got a phone, you can look at every website you want to. And that's a fantastic thing. And there's a huge choice and there's a lot of content out there. And it's from somebody who produces the websites, it's good because it's quick to post onto it. So I get a news piece from you and it could be up on that website within minutes. And it's being shown, and we then show it on social media as well. And we make a big thing with the Bath and Wiltshire Parent of getting this news up quickly. So there'll be 3 or 4 updates on the website a day. As soon as you tell us about it, if it's relevant, we'll put it up there. And it also allows an ability to respond. So
Yes.
as a consumer, you can then go onto it, and some websites will let you comment, which is great. It's two-sided. Some of the comments you get, perhaps, it can be some
Build
really
your
great stuff.
resilience, let's just say.
You've got to build your resilience. But there are downsides to websites.
Of course.
I mean, they're not always reliable. As I said, I could go on there tomorrow or I could go on there now and find 13 people talking about flat Earth. Why we've definitely got a flat Earth and the dinosaurs never existed and lots of other things. And that might not fit with your views. So you've got to understand, that not everything on there will necessarily come from a dependable source.
Yeah.
You do get extremist views, which again, then there's extreme content, which you've got to be aware of, and not always going to be comfortable for you. And talk about comfort, those long reads we were talking about, those features that are so positive in a magazine, they're not, I don't find them comfortable on a website. I don't like sitting down with my phone reading a big long feature.
And then again, some people do. So again, it's back to who are you targeting? What are their
Exactly.
consuming habits?
Yeah. But for me, there's a combination. You can combine the different media together. So what I would put in the magazine, I wouldn't necessarily put on the website.
Yeah, no point repeating it. Is
No
it?
point in repeating it. And if it's something that works well, so if Comedia got in touch and said, look, we've got a gig coming up in a week's time, it wouldn't fit onto a bi-monthly magazine, but it would fit perfectly onto a website. So I can say, that's fantastic, Comedia, we'll put it up within 2 hours, it's up on the website. Excuse me, Jeff Norcross is coming to Comedia in a couple of weeks, which he is, as it happens. Here's an interview with Jeff Norcross, which will be going up on the website soon. And that's great. It's a very quick response. So I can respond to the people that want to promote their services, their products, very quickly. It can be out there quickly and being consumed quickly. The only problem you've got is you've got to fight against an awful lot of other content to be seen.
Exactly. And if you think about from a Comedia's point of view, is just because that was mentioned and we'll use it as a case study, they could have promoted that gig as a separate website.
Yep.
They could have said, we're going to have a new website called This Gig on Friday.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, easy enough. Now websites can be produced for free, all these different softwares. But the question is, if you're using a website for your marketing, how are you going to drive traffic to it? What they've decided was they're going to call you up and say, hey, someone with a working website and a great following, I've got a gig, and can I just write an article about it that you just blip and post, and suddenly 16,000 or 21,000 people are reading it, rather than me getting a free website software talking about my gig on Friday and hoping that somebody's going to search gig on Friday.
That's exactly right. And to that, I would also add it's the relevance of the audience.
Yes.
So you could find potentially a website that it has 100,000 readers, but if they're all over the age of 80 and never going to go to the gig at Comedia, what's the point?
Or they don't like comedy shows.
Or they don't like comedy shows, or yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Or they're a foreign language website, or it's nothing to do with the Bath area. So it's understanding, again, it's going back to make sure the media, in this instance, the website, is attracting an audience that is relevant to your product.
And if you are just building your brand, I always say to my clients as well, yes, have your website, but understand what it's for, okay, and design it as such. But also be a backlink from someone else's website.
Yeah.
If you get yourself out there and you get interviewed for a comment or a topic that somebody is writing about, and it says, oh, that was a great interview by Cynthia, and then the Cynthia, that word is blue, that means it's backlink. You could possibly backlink that to your website. That's the way you build traffic to your website.
Completely.
So it's nice to have a website, but many people, I don't know, sometimes they just say, well, I may need to pay for SEO or pay for this, pay for that, or they just never get discovered because they don't have a way to funnel people in to see the website. Some people don't even have it on their business cards. It's amazing.
But you say about the pay element, and that's really important, because what you're looking for is that expertise. You know, you're looking for the audience. That's the most important thing. But that was created through expertise. So you mentioned SEO, search engine optimization. This is the use of phrases that'll help you get more readers, and people will find you through Google. If you go to a provider, a website that knows how to use SEOs, for example, you're going to get a lot more following, a lot more people, far more people looking at your product. And I completely agree about the backlinks as well. You know, if we're talking about Jeff Norcross, the comedian, going to Comedia, and we mentioned Comedia in there, and we mentioned Jeff Norcross in there, and we mentioned Bath Evenings Out, everybody looking for Bath Evenings Out, Jeff Norcross or Comedia will also read that piece.
Exactly.
So it is understanding that you might have to pay a little bit as well to make use of these wonderful talents that people have got.
But gone are the days when you can repeat Bath Evening Nights Out 97 times in one blog article just to be SEO. The good news is, the more I understand, and we'll talk about social media later, the more I understand about Google and YouTube, things like that, the less Google and things like YouTube appreciate these kinds of fake quality content, you know, where a keyword is mentioned 97 times just for the sake of having it. And sometimes they are printed in white as the same as a background, so we don't see it, but there's actually 970 times mentioned in that article. They don't appreciate that anymore. A lot of people, a lot of software now appreciate will grade your value by reading time. So if you stay on that page for half a second versus 30 seconds, that actually gives you a higher grade. If you stay there for 30 seconds, that means that content is actually valuable rather than just having lots of different keywords on it. So don't worry. If you're an added values provider and you're worried about being discovered because you don't understand much about keywords, you can always hire someone. But at the same time, just give your all, give your best. And when your content is good, you will get noticed.
I think that quality of content, I keep going back to it, but it's so important. You've just mentioned how long people stay on the page, which is the bounce rate. And I've only just been on a seminar about bounce rates, and I found out apparently the Bath and Wiltshire Parent has a phenomenally good bounce rate, which means that people stay on. But you're absolutely right. If you're attracting visitors, but they're only staying for 2 seconds, well, what's the point? Yes. And that goes back to having a quality of editorial, a quality of content. And it might not be what you supply. You might have to rely on the website controller owner rewriting content. Yes. I don't think we have ever, I'm trying to think now whether I can back this up, but I'm sure I can, ever had a press release sent in that we've put in word for word. It'll always be rewritten in some way, extra content, turned around. And that's no disrespect to the supplier. That's our job. That's what we're good at.
Yes.
And as a result, the quality of the content remains high, and people will read the content and respond to it. And I think that's really, really important.
I mean, I've been interviewed for many magazines and both business as well as lifestyle and everything. And I always admire journalists that spend time to talk to me over the phone or Zoom or whatever, versus just giving me a list of questions on email. And then, can you please reply to that? And of course, when I reply, I try to make it the most, my best writing ever, because just in case they just copy paste that thing and put my name on it, I don't want it to look bad. But I always find that's a bit of a lazy thing to do. You want that conversation, if only just to get a feel of how this person talks. If you are going to edit something, it is going to sound like that person is talking.
Oh, I think that's completely correct. You need to have more than just the facts. It's the feeling. If you go to a restaurant to review a restaurant, you can be very factual about the food, how good the fish is.
Send
today.
me a box of takeouts and I'll let you know what my thinking.
But it's the ambiance of the place. It's the whole environment. It's the experience. It's the way the people talk to you. It's the way you were treated. So it's really important to get that sort of side note to it as well. I completely agree.
Lots of tips on website. We'll be back with another platform, social media, after this.
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
We're back with Brave Business Conversations, still talking about using different kinds of platforms to market your message out there, market your business. Ian, the final platform we're going to talk about is social media. Tell us more.
Social media. I mean,
that's a wide topic, by the way.
It's a massive topic, and it's hugely popular, and it's so relevant now. But I think it's so important that it's used as part of an overall complementary strategy. I mean, to put things down, the great thing about social media is there's so much content, and we're flicking through it so quick. I'm amazed at how quickly my daughter can flick through her posts. I mean, I can't even see what she's looking at. And the great thing of that is lots of people are seeing it. The other side of that is it's fleeting.
Yes.
It's there 1 second and gone the next. For me, the great use of social media is backing up the website. So anything we put on the website, we immediately post on social media as well. But we're very picky about what we actually do put on social media. So because there is so much content, yet again, you have to make sure that content is relevant. And the social media will backlink, as you said, to more relevant content. The wonderful side about social media is the ability it gives the consumer to comment. To comment, to share. We have an awful lot of shares of the things we put up. Often, I won't put everything up on social media. The sort of things I'll put up on social media are events. Events are so popular with the readership of the Bath and Wiltshire Parent, and it's something we can get out there really quickly. So if Pound Arts in Corsham have got tickets still for sale for a show tonight, they can tell me it could be out there in seconds. And we can share content, and it's that cooperative work that you were mentioning earlier, where we would then be seen to be working with our partners at Pound Arts or with our partners at the Egg Theatre to promote their news through social media. It can be done so quickly, and it can be done in a way that's very quick to consume. But there is massive amounts of other content, so it can be lost very quickly.
Exactly. And it depends what kind of business I think you are in as well. If you are a service provider, I know one of the use of social media is to, when you're developing your product range, you also have some free product ranges, free downloads, free this, free that. And sometimes, instead of just pointing out a backlink to your website, which sometimes some social media platforms don't appreciate because they want you to stay on their platform, is just to say, hey, I've got a free download on, I don't know, let's say you're a recruitment agency. I've got a free download on the top 20 interview questions that's really in for 2022. Who wants it? Just direct message me, right? So instead of giving them anything, it's just an image saying, here's a free download if you like it. And the good thing about that is if they click right away and they get the download right away, you kind of, it's nice and automated, but you kind of lose the interaction.
Yeah.
If they say, oh, yes, me, please, or DM you or something, you get to chat with them. And through that chatting, you might discover more things, or at least you get some kind of engagement, or they have to raise their hand to show that they're interested in your top 20 interview questions rather than just automatically downloading it. It kind of depends on which industry, but that's the nice thing that's the difference between social media and website. I feel that website, and I'll go back to the website topic, it also helps to have some kind of tracking what page has been seen on your website so that you know what's working, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right with the social media. It gives the consumer a chance to put their hand up and become involved with it in a very quick, instant way. And through backtracking to websites, I think that creates that linked strategy, that complementary strategy that I've mentioned. I think as if you're the business owner and you're looking to promote your product, the important thing to do is to look at those three platforms we've discussed, the social media, the websites, and the print magazine, and try not to focus on one. Look at how it can be complementary across all three, and that can happen. And really, I think the provider, the publisher, the website owner should be able to show you how to spread it over all three. And I think that's really important, that's within your thinking when you're looking to promote yourself. So if it was we mentioned Comedia, well, in the magazine, which is a longer term one, we could put a listing for the next 6 months that they've coming up. On the website, we might have a shorter listing, but more up to date. Something new, hot news has come in. Suddenly, I don't know, somebody's playing there, and that can go in quickly. And then the social media can add in content. It can add in competitions. Can add in special offers. The website could include a review, which wouldn't necessarily go in the magazine. So you're looking at the same product, Comedia being the product here, and you're looking at different ways we could promote it through different media, and that's the really important thing. To appreciate how the different media can serve
Works
you when you
together.
serve your business.
So when you talk to a magazine, it doesn't have to be Bath Parent Magazine, but any magazine that you choose to work with, also ask them about their online features, not their prints. Yeah, because it is a collaborative effort. And even though sometimes I feel that some salespeople don't do a very good job at this, we were talking about during the break. Some people say, "Oh yeah, you pay for an ad on the print and we'll give you this thing online for free." It doesn't mean that the online for free thing is less valuable.
It shouldn't do.
It shouldn't. Well, they shouldn't have said that to begin with.
I think what they've done is they've devalued it. If they
Yeah.
actually thought a lot of their website, they wouldn't just be giving
They wouldn't
it away.
have said that.
I mean,
Yeah.
If you have a website that a lot of effort's been put into it and it's a valuable tool, they're not just going to give something away on it. I would question why it's being given away for free in that platform.
Yeah. I really liked, I was interviewed for a business magazine the other day, and I really liked how the feature was not in the print, but it actually came in their weekly newsletter.
Yeah.
And if you subscribe to regular newsletter, you'll know that they all come with links to the website and everything. And it was just an easy access for people to just read. And I consume in that way much more than a paper magazine myself. So I really appreciate that. Never undervalue the online features.
Oh, no, I think you're absolutely right. And e-newsletters are a great way of linking different types of media. So, it comes out, it can be promoted through social media. For example, it could come straight to your inbox through emails, but then it'll take you back to the website. And I think they're very effective tools.
And I think for your advertisers, at least, can they ask for statistics and everything from
Absolutely.
your analytics?
Absolutely. I always say to advertisers, number one, if you're unsure about it, just pick up the magazine and speak to any other advertiser in there and see how they're getting on. And if they can give you and ask about their experience. Are they getting the statistics they want? Are they getting the feedback? Are they getting the service they want? And I think, we've got the confidence to do that. And it's the same with the website.
Yes.
And I think you can either get the tracking software that will show if people are coming to your website directly through that advert, or you should be able to get the figures as well from the website provider.
Good. Well, how can people get in touch with you if they want to see how Bath Parent Magazine worked for them?
Well, the magazine, the latest issue of the magazine is just out this week, actually, our Jan-Feb issue. So copies will be going through every single school in Bath and many more in West Wiltshire. You can pick a copy up from Sainsbury's in Green Park in Bath, or indeed at Waitrose at the Podium. And also look at the website. The website is www.thebathandwiltshireparent.co.uk, and the contact details are on there, and we'd love to hear from you.